Big night. We've got some big guests. Here's another one. Former federal prosecutor John Flannery, who was just talking to me with great interest about this Manafort filing from Mueller's office, one of the many things happening right now. Right. What's most important in your view?
Well, what's most important is the transition from apparently being a truth teller and really cooperating to not. And the false statements apparently he made, although a lot of this is blacked out, before the grand jury as compared to the debriefings and exhibits they have and witnesses they have and so forth. And it sort of goes into loans, false loans, monies that were paid, lies about offshore people actually lobbying here, that is, so coercing them to say things that aren't true. And then the final part is carrying the water to the administration while he's cooperating about what the investigation is. And it suggests,
what's your theory? What do you think that was?
Well, I don't know if he's trying to cover both bases or he decided for some reason that he had to cooperate with the administration.
Do you think he was trying to curry favor with your friend Rudy?
It's hard to give credit to Rudy for anything, but yeah.
It may not be credit. Let me get you also, as promised, because it's part of the reason I booked you tonight.
Yes, sir.
One of the most important things that we have not covered yet at all was what Bill Barr said today, a factual error when he was trying to explain how he reversed himself on one of the most pivotal moments in this Russia probe, which everyone knows about, Trump's firing of James Comey. Here's what you need to know. In October 2016, Barr was praising Comey's public press conference that cleared Hillary Clinton of charges. But by May 2017, he said the same action crossed a line when he was trying to support Trump later firing Comey. So today, look at this. Barr tries to defend the reversal by claiming something that everyone knows, if you watch TV, you know, was not true. He says he thought the DOJ had authorized Comey's press conference when Comey said the opposite.
I think Attorney General Lynch had said something, you know, she was under pressure to recuse herself, and I think she said something like she was going to defer to the FBI. So my initial reaction to that whole thing was, well, she must have agreed, or it must have been the plan, that he was going to make the decision and go out and announce his decision.
I have not coordinated this statement or reviewed it in any way with the Department of Justice or any other part of the government. They do not know what I'm about to say.
Well, you would think that he would have known what Comey actually said in July, as was just played for us. And in his editorial called James Comey Did the Right Thing, which he dated October 31, 2016, he said, it doesn't appear that Comey was usurping power as much as receiving a punch from the Justice Department.
Why do you think he got this wrong?
Well, I think it's partisan.
You think he's partisan?
Oh, absolutely. At the time, he's talking about Comey is so good because he's opened the investigation of Hillary Clinton. Well, and he's not so friendly after the fact.
Which happens all the time in this town. You like what you like based on the color of the jersey, but it's not supposed to happen at Main Justice.
Well, this guy is so partisan, it's beyond belief. Comparing him to Richardson or any of these other former stars that we had is an insult to their, if you will, ethics and their care and their concern and integrity as public officials.
John Flannery.
Good to see you.
The Beltway's Robert Redford. He asks me to say that every time. No, he's never asked me to say that. Hey, I'm Ari Melber from MSNBC. You can see more of our videos right here, or better yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel below. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that.